Hello, beautiful souls. Lisa here. Today's topic of discussion is self-love, of course, and particularly the self part. And so whenever I first started on this journey, I wrote down what my priorities were. And the most important thing to me in this whole entire world, the reason that I get up in the morning and keep going, is my kids. And whenever I first started writing out these priorities and sorting through who I am, and what is actually important to me, I came to the realization that many of my behaviors were not showing that I valued my kids, that I prioritized them. And I'll give you an example. At the time I was working, and I was a partner and manager at Subway, and so I would go to work, and the kids, they had food, they had a roof, and they got to go wherever they wanted to go and do the things that they want to do. But in the afternoons, whenever I would come home, I would still be at work. I would still be thinking about work. I would be, coming up with solutions for things at work, talking to my husband about work. And whenever they would come to me, I wasn't there. I was still at work. I was at work all the time. Even whenever I was with them, they weren't getting my attention. My attention was work. So my priority that I wanted, my real priority and my soul, is my kids. Yet if you were to look at my behaviors, you would probably guess that my priority was work. And so this was really the beginning for me of looking at my behaviors and really diving into my values. What do you value? What do you prioritize? Because so often the self, right? Whenever you're thinking yourself, who am I? I'm a mother, a manager, a business owner, a sister. But none of these things are actually who you are. Yeah, my kids are very, very important to me, but they are not who I am. And something that really helps me wrap my head around this is thinking about my mom, who passed away in 2020, and thinking about her and how much I miss her and what it is that I miss about her. It's not her job that she had. It's not the money that she had. It's not the jewelry that she had, or her clothes, or it's the experiences that we had together. It's the way that she laughed, the way that she talked, the way that she showed up. It's these things that make you who you are. What you value, what you prioritize. And even sometimes when you're prioritizing something that's not actually who you are, it's just what you think you have to prioritize to be accepted in society, right? And that's where these masks come in, and we all do it. We all wear them. We have to. It's okay. It's not you should be shunned because you mask, but we wear these masks so that we can survive in this world, So, who are you without these masks, without these titles? What lights you up? What do you get excited about? And it's normally looking at clouds or trees or the ocean. It's these things really tend to light our souls on fire. And then we get so obsessed with material things and getting things. And so if you find that you have a lot of things and you're feeling if you didn't have that thing, you wouldn't be okay, that's a clue that your identity is tied to this thing that can come and go, because everything comes and goes. So to have your identity tied to something that is temporary is a recipe for disaster. Because really, we are not temporary. Our souls are eternal. And all of these material things that we grab for are temporary. But we kind of want them to be forever. And that's where a lot of suffering comes into play with this. So it's strip away all of that. Strip away everything you have, everything you've ever earned, your titles, what you call yourself. Think you're no one, nowhere, with no thing. It's just darkness, and you can feel into your essence. And that is who you are. And from that place, you can really get clear on what it is that you value. Do you value authenticity, or do you value approval? You may say you value authenticity, yet your life choices show that you are actually prioritizing approval over that. And this creates a lot of suffering, because you're not being true to yourself and your values, and you're not being true to yourself and your values to gain approval from other people, to be accepted, to survive, whatever it may be. But getting really clear on these values that you have. Do you value peace? If you value peace and you often put yourself in chaotic situations, that's something to look at. And this is where I started, knowing that my priority was my kids, and I value being present with them, and just being a place where they can feel safe. Yet my behaviors were not that at all. And that's where I started. And that's where you can say, hey, this behavior isn't in alignment with what I'm valuing. And that's where you can start to make shifts in, what you're actually prioritizing. And once you start clicking into alignment little by little, because you know what you value, you know what your priorities are, you know who you are and what you're doing, then you can start making decisions that are in alignment. You're making different choices, and you can stand firmer on that instead of being kind of like a tree floating in the breeze. You're founded in what it is, who you are, what you're doing, and whether or not other people approve of it won't matter, because you know why you're doing it, and you know that it's really you, and you just feel better. Whenever I was out of alignment with this, I felt like the most terrible mother in the whole world. And I would talk to people about it, and they would be like, you're not a terrible mom. And that's great. I appreciate that. I do. But it didn't change the fact that I felt like I was, because I wasn't in alignment with how I wanted to be. And it's hard because there's all these different options, and you're always being pulled different ways. And this is why it's so important. It's so, so, so important to stand firm and to know who you are, to know what you value. Also, giving yourself a little room to wiggle with that, because sometimes these things change. Like I said before, let's say you value authenticity, but your behaviors show that you value approval. So it's you want to value authenticity, yet you value approval. So these things shift. Everything is always changing. So allowing yourself to be different today than you were yesterday. Maybe your preferences today aren't the same as yesterday. You know, maybe yesterday you really wanted to go to the beach, but today it's raining, so it's not like a good day for that. So get quiet and ask yourself, what really matters to you? Write it down. What are the most important things to you? What are your core values? And then do an inventory in your life to find out if you're actually living by these. And if you're not, it's okay. I was there. It was really hard. It's really hard to be in that place where you want to be a good person, you want to be a good mom, you want to be, you know, this person that values and prioritizes their family, yet you watch yourself day in and day out prioritize work. And it takes courage to change. It takes bravery, awareness, and a lot of grit. People may not like it. People may not understand because it's not who you used to be. But this is your life. And you get this one. So make it count.